In 1969, a man sent a letter to a newspaper, not to confess, not to surrender. He sent it to play a game. He called himself the Zodiac. He claimed 37 lives. The police never caught him, and that was exactly the point. But this video isn't about the crimes. It's about what was going on inside his mind, and what that tells us about a pattern of psychology that criminologists still study today. Stay until the end, because the last piece of this puzzle changes everything you think you know about why he did it. Most serial killers avoid attention. They hide. They blend in. The Zodiac did the opposite. He performed. He created a brand, and that distinction is everything. He sent 37 confirmed letters to newspapers and police. He created his own logo. He invented a coded language. He gave himself a name. The Zodiac wasn't just a killer. He was constructing an identity, a character, a myth. Criminologist Robert Hare identified this as a hallmark of what he called the Dark Triad personality, the intersection of narcissism, psychopathy, and Machiavellianism. The Zodiac showed all three in almost textbook form. Narcissism, the need for recognition and admiration. Psychopathy, complete lack of empathy for his victims. Machiavellianism, calculated manipulation, not of his victims, but of the media, the police, and the public. Think about what it takes to sustain that kind of performance for years. This wasn't a moment of rage. It wasn't an impulse. Every letter was carefully written. Every cipher was deliberately constructed. Every clue was placed exactly where he wanted it. He studied the newspapers. He knew which journalists would print his letters. He knew which details would create maximum panic. This is not the behavior of someone who simply wanted to kill. This is the behavior of someone who wanted to direct, to write the story, to control the narrative. And the most disturbing part, it worked. For years, the entire state of California lived inside his story. Here's what most people miss. The Zodiac's real victims weren't just the people he killed. They were an entire city, an entire state. He used the murders as a delivery mechanism to deliver fear to millions. Psychologists call this proxy violence, using real harm to terrorize a much larger population. It's the same mechanism used in terrorism, but the Zodiac had no political agenda. His motive was simpler and more chilling: power, pure psychological dominance. Consider the letters themselves. In one, he threatened to shoot children on a school bus. He never did it, but that threat alone was enough. Parents across California changed their routines. Schools increased security. A single sentence, written by one man in a room, altered the behavior of thousands of people. That is not the power of violence. That is the power of the idea of violence. And the Zodiac understood this distinction better than most trained military strategists. He wrote, and I'm quoting directly from his letters, "I like killing people because it is so much fun. It is more fun than killing wild game in the forest because man is the most dangerous animal of all." This is not the language of rage. This is the language of a hunter, someone who sees other humans as prey and sees himself as the apex predator. But here's the psychological twist that changes everything. Forensic psychologists who studied the letters found linguistic evidence of something unexpected: loneliness. Underneath the grandiosity, the boasting, the games, the theatrics, there is a pattern of someone who desperately wanted to be understood. Feared, yes, but also known. The letters aren't just threats. Read carefully. there also appeals. Please print this cipher on your front page. He's asking, demanding, yes, but asking. There's something almost pathetic underneath the menace. A man screaming into a void, hoping someone will finally hear him, finally see him. Not the monster, the person. He sent 4 ciphers to the press. He claimed they contained his identity. One was solved within a week by a school teacher and his wife. It read, "I like killing people because it is so much fun." It did not contain his name. The others remained unsolved for decades. The 340-character cipher remained one of the great unsolved puzzles in American criminal history. For 51 years, no one could break it, until December 2020, when a team of amateur code breakers, a mathematician in Australia, a programmer in Belgium, and a software developer in the US, cracked it using modern decryption algorithms. The message read, "I hope you are having lots of fun in trying to catch me. I'm not afraid of the gas chamber because it will send me to paradise. All the people I have killed will become my slaves." He misspelled paradise, and that detail matters psychologically. We'll come back to it. A man who constructed elaborate codes, who outsmarted the FBI, the SFPD, and the nation's top cryptographers for 5 decades, spelled paradise wrong. This inconsistency is a psychological red flag. It points to something criminologists call compartmentalized intelligence. High capability in one domain, significant impairment in another. We see this pattern in other high-profile cases. A surgeon who can perform a 12-hour operation but cannot manage a basic conversation. A chess grandmaster who cannot hold a job. Extreme competence in one narrow channel and profound dysfunction everywhere else. The Zodiac could build a cipher that stumped the FBI for half a century, but he couldn't spell a 5-letter word. And if you understand why that gap exists, you understand something fundamental about how certain kinds of minds work. So, who was the Zodiac, psychologically? Based on the evidence, the letters, the crime scenes, the patterns, forensic analysts have built a consistent profile. Male, almost certainly. Between 25 and 35 at the time of the killings. Average to above average intelligence, but deeply uneven, as we've seen. Likely employed in a structured environment. Someone who followed rules at work. Someone who was, to all appearances, ordinary. He probably lived alone, or in a relationship where he was emotionally absent. He was organized. He planned. He did not act on impulse. The crimes were spaced out, calculated, deliberate. This is not a man out of control. This is a man who felt most in control when other people had none. Forensic linguist Don Foster, who analyzed the letters, described a specific pattern. The writing shifts between grandiosity and something almost childlike. Sentences that start with authority and end with insecurity. Threats that sound rehearsed, like lines practiced in front of a mirror. This is a man performing, not for the public, for himself. The letters weren't communications. They were affirmations. He was writing himself into existence. The most chilling conclusion, the Zodiac probably lived a normal life, went to work, had neighbors, may have had a family. The violence was compartmentalized, a secret theater where he played the role of the most dangerous man alive, because in that theater, he finally felt significant. The Zodiac case was never officially solved. No arrest was ever made. He stopped writing in 1974 and was never heard from again. Whether he died, was imprisoned for another crime, or simply lost interest, no one knows. But what the case left behind is something more valuable than a conviction. It left us a window into the architecture of a specific kind of darkness, a mind that needed to be feared because it could not bear to be ordinary. And that, more than anything, is the most unsettling part. Not what he did, but why, and how many people around us carry that same quiet hunger to be significant and choose very different ways to feed it. If you want to go deeper into the psychology of criminal minds, subscribe. Every week, we pull apart the darkest cases in history to understand the one thing that actually matters, the mind behind the crime.